What's up? It's your boy Kay, and I'm here with Isaac. Say hi to the people, Isaac.
Hello to the people.
We are back with movie review number 9 over the Ridley Scott film Gladiator 2, starring Paul Mescal as Lucius and Denzel Washington as Macrinus.
Gladiator 2 continues the story of Lucius Verus, who was abandoned by his mother and eventually makes it back to Rome and the Colosseum. It's a story of the struggle for power and for vengeance.
Once again.
Now, I had the privilege of watching this movie twice. I watched it last night with my family. You and I watched it tonight. And I will tell you, the first time I watched it, I struggled a little bit. Watching it a second time, it was actually better. So I rated it, or pre-rated it, a 9 out of 10 in our last video over Wicked. This time, I'm going to say I have to drop it. It's going to be down to an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10?
Yeah.
You know, I previously rated it a 9 out of 10 as well. And I have to say it's lower than my expectations. I'd probably go 8 as well.
Okay.
So, let's start off, obviously, with the things we liked about the film. Same as the first movie that we reviewed earlier this week, I really enjoyed just the political landscape that they map out of 200 AD, correct? 200 AD Rome. And how it's kind of a republic because it's so big. Like the power of the people stands no matter if you're a tyrannical leader, whether you're a Republican, whatever. But it's still under tyrannical rule of two brothers. And we actually looked up before this. This is in line with how the first movie goes of Marcus Aurelius. And then after Marcus Aurelius' death, the power goes back to the people, back to the Senate. But then one of the people in the Senate rises up and he regains the power to become a new tyrannical leader and passes it on to his two twin sons, who are now the emperors in this movie. So I absolutely love the political landscape. I love the struggle for power, the brave general who's once again trying to rally his army and his troops to get a coup going. It really paints out that time frame and how fragile really running a country was, whether you're a tyrannical leader or just a Senate.
Right. So for me, there's a couple things. One, you get to see some characters from the first movie, which I didn't really expect. That's really actually pretty fun.
Yeah, it was awesome.
There's a couple of people that play the same individuals, and then there are, as there were in the first movie, there are some really good fight scenes. So I'm not giving anything away because it was in the preview, but my favorite fight scene is when they have the water inside the Colosseum and they do the boat scenes. Very cool, very well done. It was a lot of fun to watch. I will tell you, so the things I didn't like, but here's the struggle. We've already talked about this movie because we did Gladiator this past week. And I thought that was a perfect movie, just perfectly well written, perfectly well put together. Music, everything was just so well done. And it's hard when you see a movie like this and try to compare it to that. Yeah. So it's probably not the fairest comparison. But overall, it just wasn't, it didn't quite hit the same notches for me. The plot line was a little bit of a struggle. I felt it was kind of, not necessarily all over the place, but they almost tried to tie it in too much, and they wiggled in some things that made it seem a little cheesy towards the end. But it's definitely worth watching for 100%. So if you're a Gladiator fan of the first movie, you definitely need to see this because you're going to appreciate certain things about it. And then the last thing I'll say, I'm not a big CGI person, so there were some animals that were in the movie that. There were some like baboons and rhinoceros that you could tell were very CGI'd in, and I just didn't think that was completely necessary to make it a great story.
Yeah.
But I see how they tie it in, but I think they did a little too much on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I like the action sequences, the animals themselves. You know, it kind of gives you a glimpse into just how glorious that empire was, that you can get, You know, in the first movie they had tigers. This movie they have like rhinos and baboons and freaking sharks. I mean, it shows the glory of Rome. I would agree it is very exotic, and doing that with CGI, especially in this day and age when, you know, our eyes are pretty trained to see the CGI now. It is in an interesting spot in the movie. I enjoyed the action a lot. I would say that one thing I didn't like. I wish they would have painted out the Emperor's position and how they gained their position a little bit better. Yeah. Because just introducing them at the beginning of the movie, basically, where they're already in their spot, it's like, you know, who would support these two buffoons being in power in the first place, you know? And they kind of hint at, like, them being out in the woods and they were, like, raised by a wolf. Yeah. I would look at those two like they were out in the woods, really, and they survived. I doubt it. But overall, the plot was pretty solid. I really liked Denzel's, his position in the movie, basically. I loved his rise of fame. I mean, we'll get a little bit into it more when we get to the spoilers section. But yeah, 8 out of 10 total, I would say.
Well, we normally say definitely go see this one in the theater. And then we don't just keep saying that, but that really is the case for this kind of movie.
Big spectacle.
Because you need to see it in the big screen. You need to hear the sound. You need to be like just focus in on that movie. Definitely go see it.
Yeah. So at this point, we are about to get into our spoilers. But first, what we are going to start doing with our videos is before we get into these spoilers, we're going to start announcing the next movie we're going to see.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
So...
Thanks, Joe.
You want to take the honors? What movie are we going to see next week?
Yeah, so next week, it's a brand new movie. It's coming out next Friday. It's actually called Y2K.
Yeah.
So if you're around when 1999 hit into 2000, there was this big concern that all the computers were going to shut down. Power was going to go out. It was going to be chaos. So they decided to make a comedy movie out of it. I'm actually really looking forward to it. So I think it's about two high school kids that are navigating, and it actually happens. So they got to figure out how do they survive in a Y2K world. So yeah, it should be fun.
So what would you pre-rate it? Let's hear it.
This is probably one of the first comedies we've done. We've done maybe Elf, I think we consider a comedy, more Christmas. Yeah. But I'm excited to see how well written it is. It's an A24 movie.
Yep.
So that should help. I'm going to say an 8.5 out of 10.
Ooh, going a little higher for it, huh?
Yeah. Hope it's not dumb humor, but well-written humor.
Okay, and it's written by Seth Rogen? Is that who wrote it?
No. Wrote it? What's his face from...
Superbad?
Yeah, what's his face? Jonah Hill. He's a producer.
You owe me a soda.
Yeah, he's a producer, so I don't think he wrote it, but I think he helped produce it.
He's involved in it.
Yeah,
I have faith that it's going to be a little funny at least. Yeah. Now, I didn't really recognize the actors. I know it's an A24 film, and you hardly ever do in those instances. I think it won't be a bad film, but 8.5's a little high for me. I think I'm going to go 7. 7 out of 10.
Okay.
So hopefully it exceeds my expectations,
sure.
But we will see. Okay, so at this point, we're going to go ahead and get into our spoilers for Gladiator 2, okay? I just want to start off with saying, going back to Denzel Washington's role, I absolutely love his progression in the movie. I mean, we see him pretty early on, and it really doesn't feel like he's much. If you remember in the first Gladiator movie, whenever Russell Crowe was fighting in that outskirt arena, and that dude was there, like, they were bargaining over 4,000 rupees or whatever for some camels and stuff. And that's kind of the same position Denzel finds himself in here, where it's kind of like small bargains for a gladiator here, a person here, or whatever. And by the end of the movie, I mean, he's worked his way all the way up to manipulating these emperors of all of Rome and eventually, like, replacing them pretty much.
Right.
And it's shown whenever he's talking to Lucius's mother, which was in the first movie.
Yeah.
It's shown, he reveals that he actually used to be a slave of Marcus Aurelius himself.
Yep.
And so it's kind of like this dynamic that I really enjoyed, that, like, who's the person that wants power the most? It's the person that started off with no power. You know, who's the person that wants to be the ruler? It's the person that started off as the slave. Yeah. I loved how he exemplified that. Now, I will say how he went out in the end. I mean, he was looking like a bad MF for the first like 80% of the movie,
Yeah.
and then he finds himself marching to the front lines and matching up against Lucius, and it was like, okay, he's gonna lose. You know he's gonna lose.
Yeah. So compared to that character, when I watched it last night, compared to tonight, last night I did not really like his character because I felt like it took a while to really develop him, and then at the end, then I was like, all right, now this is him. Watching it tonight, now I got to understand why it kind of did it that way. So, I mean, he didn't really have a whole lot going for him at the beginning. Like, he kind of had some power, had some rule. You could tell that he had to work his way up to that spot where he was just there. And then he's a manipulator. Yeah. He's a guy that knows how to work the crowd, knows how to work the Senate, knows how to work people. And he found himself basically almost taking over all of Rome, which is what he was trying to do. So... yeah, I thought, but I'm the same way with you. I kind of, the fight scene at the end, I was like, it could have been better.
Yeah, and then the entire army of Rome is just sitting on both sides. They're ready to go at it. The kingdom's ready to defend the empire, while Pedro Pascal's troops, I forget his name in the movie, but he's waiting to invade the empire to stage the coup.
Yeah.
And so both armies of 5,000, 6,000 men are just sitting there watching this politician dude duke it out with a gladiator. And I mean, ultimately it was cool though, because I think in the end with Lucius winning, it kind of represents like, hey, we are free men, like we have power in this situation. It shouldn't be up to the politicians to be deciding things. Another thing I do want to talk about is Pedro Pascal's character. Now, he was cool in the sense of being a general, somewhat in the same sense as Maximus was in the first movie, of where he has served his country well, he's conquered all these countries for his kings, and he's to the point where he doesn't want to run any more campaigns. Like, we have all the power in the world, why are we still trying to kill people?
Right.
And so he ends up trying to stage the coup or whatever, and same as last time, he gets caught because, the whispers in the wind eventually get to which, spoiler alert, Denzel Washington coops up to make sure that the emperors know to get that dude out of there.
Right.
And so, but kind of the way he went out, man, they entered him into the Gladiator arena, and he discovered that Lucius was the son of Maximus, the son of his wife at the time, and so he kind of just gave his life up. Just gave his life up to Lucius. It's like, man, it's all you, bro.
Yeah.
I did my part here. Go for it.
Yeah.
And he's a hero to the people. They're literally celebrating him at the beginning of the film. And I did enjoy how when you see him go down in the Colosseum, all the people in the crowd are just raging. They're like, what?
Yeah.
And then Lucius gives that great speech and stuff, which really flames it up. But all of this was, it just shows Denzel Washington's character's his genius and cooping all this up basically to get the people against the emperors.
One part that I thought was, I guess I still struggle with, is you see in the movie when they carry Maximus off and out of the arena, so I guess the queen at the time, or whatever she would be, takes Lucius and says, you got to get out of here.
Yeah.
So she sends him off to God knows where. I don't think she even knew. Yeah. But then she never went to look for him.
Well, she did. They showed the scene where the Romans were showing up to the village, and every time they showed up, Lucius
he'd have to run.
Yeah, he thought it was someone coming to kill him, basically, though.
Yeah, but she was never there. No. So and she recognized him when he goes into the arena, and it's like, wait a minute, this might be him. Goes and talks to him, and he knew who she was, but obviously he acted like he didn't at the very beginning. Yeah. But I just thought that was kind of a weird part, but it's okay. They tied it together, I think, at the end. Yeah, they attempted to tie it together. Now, it wasn't, the most neat ribbon on the gift, but at least they tried in that sense. Yeah. This is it's not perfectly written. I'm just going to say that.
Not perfect.
When you think about the first one, they didn't miss a beat. This one, there was a few spots they probably could have done better.
Yeah, it was like a B.
Yeah,
that's the grade I'd give it as far as plot, like how far it really moves you. Even the main character Lucius, his wife dying in the beginning, that the impact you have, the sympathy you have for him is nowhere near what you would feel for Russell Crowe in the first movie.
Right.
That was just horrible.
It's just In war, it was quick. It was arrows.
Yeah.
Done. And they had to figure out a way to tie it to, how they were going to fight eventually in the arena. So.
Yeah.
But still good.
Yeah, still a good movie. Like I said, I gave it an 8. 8's worthy of watching for sure. And it's Gladiator 2. I mean, you have to see it. It's Ridley Scott. You have to see it. He's a good director,
Yes.
Denzel, Pascal, Paul, Mescal.
Yep.
You have to go see it. All right, that's all I have. You got anything else?
That's it.
All right, that's all we have for this episode. If you enjoyed our content, please give us a like. Go ahead and comment what you thought about the movie, but also don't forget to comment what fan-selected movie you would like us to review at the beginning of the week. Go ahead and share this video with anyone who's interested in the Gladiator series. Either be the first one or the second one that came out. And finally, please give us a sub on YouTube. We are trying to get to that goal of 1,000 subs, and we're inching closer every video. So every sub is much appreciated. That's all we have for this episode. Have a great day.